For thousands of years, the liquor for Chinese people has been playing an important role in worshiping heaven and earth and cultivating one's temperament. With a history of more than 6,000 years, Fenjiu has the painstaking insistence with the wisdom of ancestors, the instruction of the master and apprentice, and the comprehension of the drinkers. Learning it from the heart and carrying on the strict inheritance of the ancestors, Fenjiu people have handed down the techniques from generation to generation.
Rare gifts from nature. One comes from Tahiti, the place of origin for black pearls. One comes from Yibin, the place for strong-flavored Chinese Baijiu. Models of craftsmanship of human civilization. One is the exquisite Swiss watchmaking craft. One is the ancient Wuliangye making craft that has been used for 651 consecutive years. Harmonious beauty of the world. One originates from the Symphony of Vienna. One originates from the charm of a great nation, which lasts for thousands of years. Beauty of the world, diversity in harmony. Wuliangye, from China to the world.
Welcome to the fascinating world of Baijiu. It's a pleasure to welcome you here in this video for a presentation on the Baijiu box that you have purchased at BCB 2020. My name is Jürgen Deibel, and I'm extremely happy to guide you through the world of Baijiu and to give you some insights on the 6 products you have in your box, but also on the category in general. For this, I have created a presentation which I'm going to show you now, and where all the 6 products will be tasted. So that means please have your products ready, have glasses ready for us to taste. We will do this together, and I'm looking forward to show you this wonderful world. For this, we're moving to the presentation. So here we are. It's a blank sheet, but the blank sheet shows you as first one the flyer you have received with your Baijiu box by BCB. The BCB Pouring digital tasting boxes have sent you 6 different Baijius, which you will see down here. It's Wuliangye, Wuliangchun, Flamma, Jinghua, a 30-year-old Fenjiu, Sushi King, Jiu, and Jiangxiaobai P50. I'm looking forward to try all this, so please have them ready for your tasting. Now, on we go. The fascinating world of Baijiu. The world of Baijiu is brought to you by Yaxin. Yaxin is a company based with its headquarters in Berlin, but also branches in Düsseldorf and Cologne. And they are importers of the 6 Baijius we have in the box and which we are going to taste together. I'm Jürgen Deibel from Deibel Consultants in Hanover, and I am really enjoying the world of Baijiu. So that's why I can give you an intimate look into this wonderful world. So here we go. The fascinating world of Baijiu has to start, obviously, where Baijiu actually begins. So what is Baijiu? When I speak to people in my tastings on Baijiu, And I mentioned Baijiu. Very often I get to hear Baijiu. I've never heard of this. What is it? And if I say this is the #1 spirit in the world, the most sold spirit in the world, and if I say this is the biggest category, this is a category which has 1,000 of years history behind. Many people say they've never heard of it, they've never tried it. So it's quite important to understand what we have, where we're coming from, and that's what we will do in this presentation as well. So what is Baijiu? Now, Baijiu actually literally means it's white alcohol, nothing else than white alcohol from China. It actually groups together all spirits produced in China based on cereals. So it's a traditional Chinese grain spirit, if you like, and there are several categories. We will have a closer look tonight at 2 categories of all the categories available, but I will also introduce you at least theoretically with some others in the Baijiu category altogether. Now, which kind of grains do we have? We have millet, sorghum, red millet, for example. We have wheat, we have corn, rice, glutinous rice. Those are the main ingredients used for making Baijiu. Baijiu traditionally is a colorless liquid. It's quite fragrant. However, when you nose it first time and have never nosed it before, be prepared. It's an unusual fragrance. It's an unusual taste profile for Western Europeans or other people outside China. You have to get accustomed to it, but the moment you get accustomed to it, I'm sure you will get all the differences, and you will also understand where they are coming from, and you will learn what and how to use them. Now, the secret of Baijiu is not only the ingredients, but most important is chu. Now, chu, that is something that is being used for saccharification and fermentation. So we have here a combined process of these 2 very essential processes when creating spirits. And the chu is made of natural airborne yeast, microorganisms, grains. So we have different varieties of chus, and we will see this today as well as we go through the 6 different spirits. Furthermore, it's also different in where exactly it's coming from in China. We have different subcategories to this main category of Baijiu, and I will introduce you to some of them. Again, each of them also uses different chus, so you can imagine how complex this may get at the end. But please stay tuned. It's absolutely fascinating what this product can offer you. Now let us start with where it's coming from. Obviously, China, that's what we said before, but China here has different regions where different Baijus are coming from. So you can see here light aroma Baijiu, strong aroma Baijiu, sauce aroma, rice aroma. So these are very, very important traditional categories. And we will focus on the tasting side in this presentation today on strong aroma Baijus and light aroma Baijus. However, the most well-known in Western Europe, as I have found out in the meantime, is the sauce aroma Baijiu, simply because many people have come across it, and it's also quite well known because it has this kind of flavor profile reminding you of soya sauce. And rice aroma Baijiu is another category, especially here from the southern part, as we will see in a minute. I'm using this chart and this map here to illustrate where we are. So first of all, we will talk about 2 categories which we are not going to taste today. The first one is the sauce aroma Baijiu, the one I just mentioned as probably a one that some Western Europeans have come across and know quite well. Sauce aroma Baijiu, because of its taste profile reminding you of soya sauce, of spicy flavors, strong flavors. That is something that people have come across, and this is just one category of Baijius, so please don't take this as the Baijiu altogether. It originates in South Central China. It's quite a labor-intensive process actually to make a sauce aroma Baijiu. It may take over a year, and during the process you're always adding fresh grains on a regular basis, but you also have fermentation pits which are brick-walled, and the mash is also later repeatedly distilled. So this is a very special way of producing a Baijiu. You will learn to understand all these keywords, all these differences as we go through the presentation. So this is the one we're not going to taste. So is the second one. The second one are rice aroma Baijius. As you can see here, this is the yellow circle we see on the map in the southern part of the Chinese country. And this is because it's made of rice, very, very similar in taste profile to sake from Japan or Korean soju. So if you ever come across this one, you may get a little bit irritated if you know sake already, or if you have tasted the Korean soju before. It's mostly sweet in the nose, has some very nice floral flavors on top, and in some cases it can have a nice light smoky finish, but that is not the common with rice aromas, but it can be lightly smoky. So that's another style of Baijiu. So you already know two. Now it's time to go into what we're actually going to taste. And the one that we have three different products from is strong aroma Baijiu. You can see we're here in an area in the Sichuan province, and around this is the heart of where strong aroma Baijiu comes from. And this is also an area where Baijiu production has a long-standing history. It goes back to the 14th century already, and we will come to producers who are producing ever since, even longer before. So that gives you an idea about the history already. Now, what is a strong aroma Baijiu? A strong aroma Baijiu is something that is quite heavy in the nose. It will give you some overripe fruity characters. Mostly the overripe fruitiness is given you from the characters of pineapple. That is mostly the first association people have when nosing it. It has a quite deep and strong taste, very often driven by the grains out of which it is made. And one of the major companies, and that's the one we're also going to, is Wuliangye. Wuliangye is a company that actually has fermenters, earthen pit fermenters, which are dating back to the 14th century already. So that again shows you how old and how traditional this style of making Baijiu is. So here we are at Wuliangye company in Yibin. Wuliangye has a huge area covered by the workshops. It was originated by 8 different workshops formed together to create it. And today there's 50,000 people working for the company. And I have deliberately picked this picture here for us because it gives us a view down on some of the workshops, but it also gives us a nice view on this bottle here in the middle. Now, this is not a bottle, this is a building, and you can enter this building, you can go inside, and this belongs to Wuliangye. It actually represents the bottle of Wuliangye, the one that we are going to drink. So I'd like to ask you to pour your first Baijiu now. It's the Wuliangye, the one that you should have to you in front of you. It's the one with the 39% of alcohol. It's called Wuliangye Classic. And this Wuliangye Classic is a strong aroma Baijiu by category, as we said. And the ingredients are 5 different grains. It's sorghum, rice, glutinous rice, wheat, and corn. It's a flagship of the Wuliangye group. It has 39% of alcohol by volume, and the name actually translates into 5 grains liquid. So Wuliangye 5 grains liquid, that's what it means. Now, when we're taking this to the nose for nosing, you should have already found this very clearly detectable character of the pineapple the moment you were pouring it into your glass. This is immediately detectable, but it continues. There's more to it. There's ripe and overripe fruity character, which you can get. Still very mellow, quite sweet also, and it feels like it's a good balance, especially when you swirl it around in your glass and nose again. You can feel the graininess coming through as well. But predominantly with this one here is the flavor profile of the fruitiness. What we're talking about here is a product that has a history dating back to the 14th century. So let us try it. Here we go. Wuliangye Classic at 39% alcohol. The fruitiness, the grains, a very mild finish, beautifully balanced. This is what we expect from a strong aroma Baijiu to taste. So that was our first one. Now I think it's time to look where we are and what we have here. I mean, I already told you we're in Yibin. We're using the water of the ancient river. And we have fermentation pits at Wuliangye, which are dating back to the 14th century. The grains are 5 grains, as said before. It's corn, it's rice, it's wheat, glutinous rice, and sorghum, the one that we will see today more and more in these products. So that is the first one. And obviously, as I said, it makes sense to have a little closer look. Wuliangye is a state-owned enterprise, and it's known as the king of liquor in China. Its history is not only with the old earthen pits, but it goes back more than 1,000 years. And the Wuliangye, as I said before, has about 50,000 employees in the group. But what interests us the most are the ancient pits. And it's beautiful to already see where we are going to enter to in a minute. They are in a crypt style building, fermentation, as I said, as done more than 600 years. We can actually trace this back to the Hongwu period in the Ming Dynasty. Now, here's the doors. Doors are now opening. I mean, you have seen this picture. It's on your flyer as well, which you have received with the BCB Baijiu tasting box. But let's go inside, and here's the fermentation pits. We can see that they are earthen. We can see they are underground, and you can see that is really a crypt style, as they say, and it's dating back to the Ming Dynasty. This is where saccharification and fermentation takes place. So we will later on have these wonderful flavors, which we have already tried in our first sample. The Wuliangye company has a huge area to cover, a lot of employees, which means they are producing a lot. And here we got some figures on this. They have the largest single brewing workshop, which has about 40,000 tons of capacity. It has an annual production which reaches 200,000 tons of distilled liquor. And this again is in a storage of more than 40,000 tons of liquor, which can be held in their storage capacity. Wuliangye as a product has first been known outside China in 1915 when it received by the Panama Pacific International Exposition a medal. And that wasn't the last, because ever since 1915, Wuliangye has been awarded many, many times. It's more than over 100 awards in and out of China by today. So really something that we need to look at much closer when we come across it. It's really a Baijiu with style, with history and tradition. But it's not only this one that they are producing. This is the Wuliangye Classic, as you can buy it now. You can see the bottle, you can see the box where it is coming in. And they are producing several others as well. Now we will try more of them, but first of all, I want to give you a little bit more about the history. It's just one slide to show you how long the history of Baijiu actually goes back. When we look at the brewing, we are talking about the Xia dynasty dating back to 2700 to 1600 BC as inventors of brewing. So this gives you the first idea how long they trace the history of Baijiu back. Still, when it comes to distillation, we're talking about the 12th and 13th century. This is when distillation was also coming together with the brewing art, and it was already widespread during the Mongolian rule and the Yuan dynasty from 1279 to 1368 all over China. So here we really see that we are talking about a product which has this extremely long-standing history, and that's something that we always that we didn't know so far, and that's what we got to know and look out for the future. I want to show you a second product of this Wuliangye distillery. Now, with this product called Wuliangye. Wuliangye has 45% alcohol, and it's also a strong aroma Baijiu. The ingredients are again the 5 ingredients we talked about before, but the difference is another art which is important in the creation of a Baijiu. It is the art of blending together the characters, the individual characters, of blending together the results you get of using different chews. So all this creates new style of Baijiu, even within the same category. So here's the second one, Wuliangye, a 45% of alcohol. And when you nose this, it's quite interesting to see. When you pour it very fresh, you get quite a strong character from the grains. They are dominant. But the moment you let it rest for a while in the glass, swirl it around a little bit, you can get the flavor profiles from the fruitiness. You get all these tropical fruits coming through, still in a good balance with the grains. Compared to Wuliangye, the grains will be dominant. As in Wuliangye was the fruits, in Wuliangye it's the grains, which are here in a perfect harmonious taste profile. So let us try this one. We're at 45% of alcohol, Wuliangye. more pronounced, especially in the finish of the grains. Especially the sorghum is here a little bit more explicit, and the finish with the 45% well supported. Very interesting. So that gives you an idea of different art of blending that is being made here with this strong aroma Baijiu from Wuliangye called Wuliangye. So now we've had two already. So we've tried Wuliangye, we've tried the Wuliangye. We've seen how different they can actually be, even within the category of the strong aroma Baijius. So that makes us, of course, now prepared for having a closer look at the art of making Baijiu. I'm using here some pictures where sorghum is the most important grain shown. You can see the sorghum here, it's the red sorghum. Then we see this is getting soaked. Then next step is the steaming process with heat, where we are releasing the starches. And then it's the cooling process that takes place next. Sorghum itself is a cereal which has a history of more than 5,000 years, probably coming from Africa about 5,000 years ago. It's a relative of corn, millet, and of course also of sugarcane. And very important for today, it's 100% gluten-free crop. So what we have here is a picture of the red sorghum we see here, and this sorghum millet has a bitter taste, but once it's been fermented and distilled, it's getting very complex fruitiness, and the more of the sorghum we have, you are able also to detect some nutty characters. So for example, in the Wuliangye, in the one we had a second, it was a slight nuttiness to be detected over the Wuliangye at the beginning, in the Wuliangye Classic, which had less of this nutty flavor profile. Now comes the famous chu. The famous chu, as I said, is added to the grains, here in this case to the sorghum. There's a bacterial cultivation taking place, and therefore we're not only having later on a fermentation based on yeast, but we have the bacteria also included, which also increases the flavor profile. We have different and more flavors available with the help of this chu. Now, how does chu look like? I've got two pictures here showing you a brick style chu. It's a process of making it which takes a couple of months to really bring this together. And it's basically crushed grains containing yeast, bacteria, and naturally occurring microorganisms. So you can imagine that in each and every category, each and every region of China, you are also able to have different chus with different flavor characteristics for the product. So again, this helps to make this Baijiu category so huge and so different in where it's coming from and how it's tasting. I like this startup package idea of chu because it really serves as such. It's a startup package for the alcohol production. Now, chu simplifies the process of alcohol production into one single step, because if you mix chu directly with the steamed or vaporized grains, you start the saccharification, the sugaring, and the fermentation at the very same time. So that makes it so special and so unique to be used as in the process of making Baijiu. And we can see here, for example, another way of how it's been spread out on the picture top right, where it is sprayed out. You may have seen this. It's a powder. If you have ever seen how sake is made, that may remind you a little bit of how this is done. Now, further on, we're going to the fermentation pit now. Remember, with the chew, we also have the yeast. So now it's time to let it ferment. The saccharification is taking place. Immediately, the fermentation of the sugar is taking place, and we're creating the alcohol. This is done in fermentation pits. We've seen the earthen fermentation pits with Wuliangye, and we have seen their history, more than 600 years of origin of these fermentation pits there. And it is said that the older a fermentation pit is, the more complex the Baijiu will be in the end. There is a saying that probably about 30 years should be the minimum age of a maturation pit to create a good complexity, especially for the strong aroma Baijius. Now, when saccharification and fermentation is finished, which definitely does take sometimes, it can be weeks or even longer, we are moving on. The fermentation, again, picture here with a different way of using pits. This is a picture here of a light aroma Baijiu or Fenjiu, how they are actually using their fermenting pits. And you can see here the cooling, and you can see here also how the treatment of the grains is done with the chew. So when all this is done, when we have alcohol and we have a low alcohol content, it's only a couple of alcohol percentage, up to 5% of alcohol by volume, then we're going into a distillation. And the distillation is a so-called solid state distillation. Very unusual for us, because usually we have a liquid state distillation, because the alcohol is there, water is there, and that's how we boil off the alcohol. Now, in a solid state fermentation, you don't have something to, like a liquid, to boil out from. You have a solid where the alcohol is soaked in. So what you're actually doing is you're bringing the solids into the distillation. It's a pot still distillation, and you're applying steam from the bottom. You can see this on the lower left picture. You're applying steam. The steam goes through the solid phase and takes with him the alcohol. So we're taking out a mixture of steam and alcohol, and this is what we're condensing here, and that is then the alcohol that we're looking for. It is usually a one style distillation, so once only, but as we've seen, for example, in the sauce aroma, we also have multiple distillations following each other. Usually it's one, maybe two distillations. In the second distillation, or in the first, when we're taking the liquid out already, we are separating heads and tails as we would do, and that's what it's called, the spirit cut. So here's another one that I want to show you of these strong aroma Baijius. We're staying with the Wuliangye group, and we're going to a product which is called Flamme, the heat. Now, when you look at the label here, you can see flames. And for example, the blue one has one flame, the yellow one has two flames, and the third one has three flames. This is in correspondence with the alcohol content. The blue one has an alcohol content of 33%, and for example, the red one of 58%. In your box, as number 3, you will find Flamme, and if you look at it very closely, you can see it says strong aroma Baijiu, and it's got one flame. So we are with the 33% of alcohol version. It is a strong aroma Baijiu. We have again the 5 grains we've been talking about: sorghum, rice, glutinous rice, wheat, and corn. And we have here only 33% of alcohol, but the complexity is so surprising. You start off with a pineapple. That's quite clear. But then you get lime and citrusy character, which is surprising to find. And if you nose very carefully, you can also get some aniseedy character, which is present mostly when you realize that there's a citrus, you can realize the aniseedy shortly afterwards. Some bubble gum, and further on, the tropical fruit now goes wider than just pineapples and overripe pineapples. It goes into mango, papaya, but still on a very ripe to overripe characteristic. Beautiful. Let's try it. Here we go. Flamma, 33% of alcohol. Obviously, the alcohol here is less pronounced. We get all the tasting that we had in the nose. We get on the flavor profile from the tongue and in the finish as well. Quite a nice one. Could be very good also for using in cocktails. That could be a possibility for this strong aroma Baijiu. Yeah, interesting character. And here's again the one that we have tried. Wuliangye Yibin Company Limited is the producer. And this was the number 3 of our strong aroma Baijius to taste out of the box. Now, let's move on. We're going away from the strong aroma Baijius. We're going to the light aroma Baijius. Light aroma Baijius region here, as you can see, northeastern provinces. Shaanxi, for example, very, very famous. Beijing also. And we're going to Shaanxi for this light aroma styles to look at. Light aroma does not mean it is light in alcohol. It can be, but we have alcohols well over 50% as well. So don't consider it to be only an easy and light character as the name may imply. This is definitely also strong, but differently. Usually millet is here fermented. It's fermented for a short period. It's fermented in clay pots. And also some of it is also here then aged in clay pots as well. And we also have some flavoring among the light aroma Baijius. There's different varieties within the light aroma category. And in this case, we will focus on the Fenjiu, and the ones that we are going to try are Fenjiu style. So the company we're going to is Xinhua Kun, and that is the company you will have as number 4 here. This is the Xinhua 30 Fenjiu, and I'm asking you to pour this now if you have not done it already. This is the company we are going to, very traditional, very what we are expecting from a Chinese product to have the buildings look like for us here in Western Europe. Now, this is the one we're going for, and this is absolutely outstanding. We have a Baijiu which has matured for 30 years. It's a blue flower Fenjiu Xinhua light aroma Baijiu. It is purely made of sorghum and water. Nothing else is being used. And this is one of these products, again, that can go back more than 6,000 years in history when brewing and later on distillation came together. This one here is aged for 30 years in ceramic containers. I will show you a picture of this. And when you have it in your glass right now, you can actually find that this is really more oxidized character. We can really sense the maturation. It is not that fruitiness that we did expect from the strong aroma Baijius. It has more to create from the sorghum, the typical flavor profile we're expecting from this grain, but still the body is dense. That means oxidation in the maturation has really done its job perfectly well here. You do not expect the color because obviously it's been matured in ceramic jars, so no wood that could give any color to this. Now let us give it a try. Here's the Jinghua 30 Fenjiu, blue flower 30 Fenjiu. More of the acidic style, more of a mixture, acidity, sweetness, acidity, a nice balance, very refreshing, and again, quite oxidizing notes that are typical for these long matured Baijus. And here's where these Baijus are matured. You can see the ceramic jars as I was describing them before, and that's where they spend 30 years for aging. Now, when you have such a Baijiu, then obviously it is not that you drink it neat only. You could do that, but it would not be typical when Baijiu is consumed in China. When you ever go to China or have been to China, you have experienced the moment you are going to try Baijiu, you will have food with it. And so it doesn't wonder that with this Baijiu, they have also tried several foods to go along with. And I've only picked a few here to show you also the possibility in international styles, not only with the typical Asian or Chinese cuisine, but also here, as you see on the far left and far right pictures, on the left hand we see the Italian spaghetti, and on the right hand side we see the typical British fish and chips. This does also blend perfectly well with this Baijiu, with this Fenjiu Baijiu, and we have here something that could accompany a food perfectly well. That was originally one of the key usage of this product, or key things that this product was used with in connection with food. So always bear this in mind as well. We have those possibilities. Now, when we have a look at this product, you see this beautiful package. We also see some awards. Not only Wuliangye and their products have been awarded, but here the Fenjiu as well. We see the IWSC awards it has received, and this is only just one out of many that these Fenjiu Baijus, these light aroma Baijus, have been given. Now, Fenjiu, the Shangji company, has again a long-lasting history. More than 6,000 years of winemaking tradition is behind it, and more than 11,000 people are also employed. So again, we've seen Wuliangye with its 50,000, we see Fenjiu here with 11,000, gives you an idea of the importance of Baijiu, not only in the drinking culture, but also in the economy for China. Absolutely fascinating to see what means Baijiu to China and to the Chinese people. Now, to continue, I would like to show you our Baijiu number 5. The Baijiu number 5 is also named bamboo schnapps, which I don't really like very much, schnapps, you know, but it's bamboo spirits. But what it means is bamboo here in terms of flavoring. So what we have here is a light aroma Baijiu based on millet, based on barley, but we also have sugar with it. And something very interesting, we have peas and bamboo. So that's where flavor of it comes from. It's a beautiful packaging and a very, very interesting taste. When you take your glass number 5, you will realize that this has color. Now, obviously, this is where the bamboo actually comes in to give color, but also to give some flavor profile, because the moment you nose it, you can realize it has a lot of herbal notes. It has these bamboo style notes, but it also has some characters that remind you of some darker notes alongside the herbal notes. And then comes the freshness, then comes the sorghum grain again. And again, this is a product which has matured. It has been in a jar for 5 years. It's absolutely fascinating to have this variation going backward and forward with the grains, the herbal notes, the bamboo essences. It's absolutely fascinating. And I always find some pea characteristic here. The peas are so nicely presented as well. So let us try this one, the King Jiu, 5 years old. Nicely sweet, as to be expected. And then the bamboo, the millet. It's a great character and something you can easily drink on its own, but also you can make some really refreshing tasting drinks with it. Here it is, nice packaging. On top, of course, that is King Jiu, 5 years old, light aroma Baijiu. 3 times strong aroma, twice light aroma Baijius as yet. There's just only one more missing, which is Baijiu number 6, and that is Jiangxiaobai. Jiangxiaobai, what we have here is a light aroma Baijiu as well. This is our number 6 here. And what we have here is coming from the Jiangxi factory. Here's one of the gates. We see and some very modern building here of this factory. And that's the product. Jiangxiaobai Pure P50, a product with 40% of alcohol by volume and a product which is very fashionable among young people in China these days. It's a light aroma Baijiu as base, and it is created as a light aroma Baijiu with a chew which is called small chew. Small chew is a chew which is exclusively based on rice. So that gives it also a twist in the character of the flavor profile we're looking at of a product which is made of water and sorghum. Jiangxiaobai focus exclusively on this development of this light aroma Baijiu category and making this softer than the traditional Baijiu. When we have the tasting notes, you can feel this. Even with a 40% of alcohol, the nose has hints of apples, green apples, grass, fresh cut grass with a mixture of hay, and a good character of the sorghum detectable. Now let us try this one and see how it tastes. We got this sorghum character, bit of a spiciness in the finish. And this opens up an opportunity because that's not only for drinking it neat, that probably is something which will shine out in a cocktail much more than it may do neat. And that's why this was used in cocktails very extensively by the young people. So here are some ideas which have been presented by Jiangxiaobai. You see the Azure Morning in the middle, obviously quite clear because of the color, nice and wonderfully recognizable. But you also see traditional cocktails like Jiangxiaobai Mojito or Jiangxiaobai or the Chongqing Mule, sorry here, but made with Jiangxiaobai and Icebreaker, another cocktail. If you want to know more about these recipes, please do not hesitate to contact Yaxin Company or contact myself, and we will send you the cocktail recipes and you can get some more inspiration for use at your bars. It's absolutely interesting when you have tried this very, very unique character of a Baijiu in a cocktail the first time. You can see its versatility and the possibility which it will open for you and your customers. So here we go. We had 6 Baijius today. We had 3 aroma Baijius from Wuliangye, the Wuliangye Classic, the Wuliangchun, and the Flamma. We had 2 light aroma Baijius with the Fenjiu style, wonderful 30 years and 5 years, and the 5-year-old also with some additional flavors of bamboo and peas. And finally, the most interesting ones for the young people in today's China, Jiangxiaobai, light aroma Baijiu as category, but with small chew, therefore slightly different in the flavor profile and very, very good for mixing. If you go to the BCB website and you go to Yaxin Company, you can find more videos and more hints that will tell you a little bit more about what I have told you in this presentation. And again, Yaxin, the company based in Berlin and with branches in Düsseldorf and Cologne, they are your primary contact for brands from Wuliangye, from Fenjiu, and from Jiangxiaobai. So you can always get these products from them. It was a great pleasure for me to introduce you in this short video on the category of Baijiu and the fascinating world behind you. So thank you very much for your attention. This is presented to you by Yaxin and Deibel Consultants, Jürgen Deibel from Hanover. Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure. Enjoy your Baijiu. Hope to see you again soon in real. Thank you very much and bye-bye.